Good morning. This is Jimmy. I hope you had a good time at church last night. I know I did. We're going to jump right in because I have many things to do today. Uh, Nursing home programs, some work to get ready for the big Bible conference. Starts a week from today at the Ozarkville Gospel Church. Every morning at 10 with a luncheon to follow. Every evening at 6, another service. If I'm wrong about 6, I'll let you know. But it starts a week from today. The ones that old people like me will be interested in are the morning services because we haven't passed out yet. We still have energy in the morning. And lunch will be served after every morning service. So you got to eat lunch somewhere. You might as well come to the Bible conference. That starts next Thursday. It will run through Sunday. Of course, we expect you to be in your own church on Sunday morning, but we'll wrap it up Sunday night. A good time will be had by all. You'll hear 3 preachers a day. There'll be lots of music. There'll be lots of prayer time. We may even get really bold and have some Q&A sessions when we're just hanging out. It could be good. We just want you to come and be with us and uplift one another and and really raise up the Word of God, lift it up above the daily tasks. Get it up there where people can see it. Here I raise my Ebenezer. Thus far hath the Lord helped us. That's what Samuel said. Here I raise my Ebenezer. Because God has helped us so far. Come thou fount of every blessing. Here I raise my Ebenezer. Okay, chapter 41, Isaiah. Let's get through this. Good morning, Chris and Julie. Keep silence before me, O islands, and let the people renew their strength. Let them come near, let them speak. Let us come near together to judgment. Who raised up the righteous man from the east, and called him to his foot, and gave the nations before him, and made him ruler over the kings? He gave them as the dust to his sword, and as driven stubble to his bow. He pursued them, and passed safely, even by the way that he had not gone with his feet. Who hath wrought it and done it, calling the generations from the beginning? I, the Lord, the first, and with the last I am he. The isles saw it and feared. The ends of the earth were afraid, and drew near and came. They helped every one his neighbor. Every one said to his brother, Be of a good courage. So the carpenter encouraged the goldsmith, and he that smootheth with the hammer, him that smote with the anvil, saying, It is ready for the soldering. And he fastened it with the nails, that it should not be moved. He's talking about Cyrus. This will become even clearer in another chapter. That God paved the way for Cyrus and Darius, the first king, and Cyrus, the great general, who became the second king, to take Nebuchadnezzar's great kingdom, great Babylon, into the hands of the Medes and the Persians. It was God who allowed all that to happen, and thus Babylon was punished for what it did to Israel and Judah, which seems funny in a way. Of course, you remember that the Babylonians were allied with the Assyrians when the Assyrians took Israel in 732 BC and burned the capital of Samaria. But then the Babylonians conquered Assyria and gained power. Then the remaining Assyrian generals were allied with Babylon when they took Jerusalem and destroyed it and burned the temple in 586 BC. Now in 539 BC, here came Darius and Cyrus, and then it was and took over Babylon. And as applies to this chapter here, it was Cyrus, of course, who gave the order for the Jews to return, as many of them as wanted to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. This is found in the last part of the Chronicles of the Kings, and begins the book of Isaiah. It was also under the Persian rule that Nehemiah went back to build the wall, and the prophets Haggai and Zechariah came back to encourage that rebuilding. So God arranges all these things. He says in verse 5, verse 4, he says, well, who hath wrought it and done it, calling generations from the beginning? I, the Lord, the first, and with the last I am he. I'm the one who does it all, is what God says. Verse 8, but thou, O Israel, art my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. Thou, whom I have taken from the ends of the earth, and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, thou art my servant, I have chosen thee, and not cast thee away. Then he's talking specifically to Israel. Now I'm getting a lot of pushback on this because of the war in Israel, the desperation of the people in Gaza, the blown up children, the starvation, the destroyed buildings, people staggering around without a functioning hospital. Look, I understand all that stuff is going on, but what did you expect the end of the world to look like, Babaluba? Do you think we're going to be sitting around eating tea and biscuits? No. Bless God that you're alive to see what's going on today. Like Jesus told his generation, there have been many prophets who would do anything to switch places with you and see with his own eyes what's going on right now. The rapture is very near, friends. You need to be ready. As Amos told Israel, O Israel, prepare to meet thy God, because he's coming. He's going to settle their hash once and for all. You want to be with him when he comes. You don't want to be against him. Nobody will be able to stand in that day. Fear not. Fear not. I am with thee. My friend Philip Shuford, his cancer surgery didn't go as planned. There were complications. They will be deciding today what to do next. Philip Shuford, he is in some denominations, he'd be called the bishop or the overseer, but I didn't want to belong to any organized religion, so I'm a Southern Baptist. It's a joke, of course. He is our, what we call, director of missions. His main job is to keep churches from fighting with one another. He's had a really bad go the last couple of years. I'd appreciate it if you'd pray for him. Philip Shuford and his good wife, Elsie. They have many things to face today. The operation was not successful, and now they got to try to decide what to do next. Thank you. Anyway, Philip posted this verse yesterday before he went into the surgery. Isaiah 41 verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Jesus said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. And he said, Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. And he is. Verse 11, Behold, all they that were incensed against thee shall be ashamed and confounded. They shall be as nothing, and they shall strive. They that strive with thee shall perish. Thou shalt seek them and shall not find them, even them that contended with thee. They that war against thee shall be as nothing, as a thing of naught. For I, the Lord thy God, will hold thy right hand, saying unto thee, Fear not, I will help thee. Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel, I will help thee, saith the Lord, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth, and thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shalt make the hills a chaff. Thou shalt fan them, and the whirlwind shall carry them away, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them. And thou shalt rejoice in the Lord, and shalt glory in the Holy One of Israel. When the poor and needy seek water, and there is none, and their tongue faileth for thirst, I, the Lord, will hear them, and I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. And this speaks of the restoration of the land during the millennial kingdom. And I read you all those passages the other day from other places in Isaiah, in Ezekiel, in Amos, the restoration. I will open rivers in high places and fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water, and the dry land springs of water. I will plant in the wilderness the cedar, the shittim tree, the myrtle, the oil tree. And I will set in the desert the fir tree and the pine and the box tree together, that they may see and know and consider and understand together that the hand of the Lord hath done this, because it could have been done no other way. You don't grow fir trees in the desert. Produce your cause, saith the Lord. Bring forth your strong reasons, saith the King of Jacob. Let them bring them forth, and show us what shall happen. Let them show the former things what they be, that we may consider them and know the latter end of them, or declare us things for to come. This is talking about their gods. Bring out all your gods and let them tell us the future. Let them promise us that they're going to make the desert bloom. Let your gods, your idols, tell you what's going to happen next, like I do, because they can't. They can't speak. They can't see. They can't talk. They can't think. They are nothing. Show us the things that are to come hereafter, that we may know that ye are gods. Yea, do good or do evil, that we may be dismayed and behold it together. They can't do nothing. They can't do anything good. They can't do anything bad. They're just stones or sticks or totem poles or little carved gods or big molten shaped by the smiths, by the goldsmiths and the silversmiths. Now, I will tell you that the God itself is nothing, whether it's a totem pole or a statue or whatever, or a picture on a wall, or the head of a fish stuck on the body of a man, like the Philistine abomination Dagon. But there are entities behind every one of those stone or brass or gold or wood gods. Satan the devil and all of his angels that rebelled against the Lord. There are real devils and demons sitting behind Buddha and sitting behind all of those idols and abominations in India and all over Southeast Asia, and those shrines and those temples and those mausoleums. They all straight out of hell. You know, the most recognizable idol in the United States is the indigenous people's totem pole. All of those scary images carved straight up the totem pole, many times with the Thunderbird on the top. You know, the clan of the wolf and all that stuff, you know. It's all witchcraft and voodoo and hoodoo. It's all straight out of hell. But those idols can't hurt anybody, but the devils behind them can. And they are very real. And they will kill you if they can. You need to get saved today if you're not already. Behold, God says through Isaiah, ye are nothing, talking to these idols. Behold, ye are nothing, and your work of naught. An abomination is he that chooseth you. An abomination is he that chooseth you. You may choose the God, and it is abominable that you choose him. Say you choose a little statue. Like for my birthday, my friends gave me a bobblehead Jimmy. This would be a little idol that, you know, that they would carry around, and they would set up wherever they camp, and they would light incense to it and pray to it. That's very clever, but it's not a god. It can't do anything but stand there. It looks a little like me, but it ain't me. See, it says that idol, that god, is a work of naught. It means it's nothing, but an abomination is he that chooseth you, not he that chooseth it. What he's saying here is that the idol is abomination, but it's chosen you. How could that be if it can't see or think or hear? You see, the demon, the devil, maybe even Satan himself, the spiritual entity behind that idol chooses you to take, to capture, to kill, to carry off to hellfire. Devil wants a lot of company in that lake of fire. The devil does not rule in hell. He will never rule in hell. He will never rule anywhere except through the Antichrist for 7 years during the Great Tribulation. At the end of the 1,000-year millennium, this kingdom that God is describing here, at the end of those 1,000 years, he will be taken and cast into the lake of fire when the beast and the false prophet are, and they should be tormented there day and night forever and ever. Now, the devil won't rule anywhere. He's going to be eternally being punished in the lake of fire for eternity, along with everyone he's led there since Cain. The abomination that chooseth you or me is Satan the devil, or one of his demons, one of his fallen angels. That's the abomination that chooses you when you worship an idol or contact them through the Ouija board or tarot cards. It's all witchcraft. It's all abomination. It opens the doors of hell. I have raised up one from the north, and he shall come. From the rising of the sun he shall call upon my name. He shall come upon the princes as upon mortar, and as the potter treadeth the clay. He's gone back to remind them that he is going to send a deliverer. Who hath declared from the beginning, that we may know, and before times that we may say he is righteous? Yea, there is none that showeth, there is none that declareth, yea, there is none that heareth your words. God is saying, these idols can't help you. These idols can't tell you that there's going to be a king that I'm going to set up and that he's going to come and free you. Good morning, Kayla. But I can tell you that, God says, but your idols can't tell you that because they don't know anything. They're just wood or stone or metal. They're nothing. But the power behind those idols is very real. It could be a demon, a devil, a fallen angel, an imp, or it could be the devil himself. I believe the devil himself is Allah. The Muslims are worshiping Satan the devil, and they don't even know it. Because the God that they describe in the Quran sure sounds like Satan the devil to me. The first shall say to Zion, behold, behold them. And I will give to Jerusalem one that bringeth good tidings. See, your restoration is going to come. Isaiah is writing here, and he says, well, 130 years from now, there's going to come a guy, and he's going to take us captive, and he's going to burn the city and destroy the temple. And we're going to be carried away captive into Babylon. But then there's going to be another guy, and he is going to come and let us go back to Jerusalem. He is going to say to us, I'm going to give Jerusalem to the one that bears good tidings. So God puts it in the mind of King Cyrus to let the Jews go back and build the temple. And that first bunch came under Ezra, the priest. It's all described in the book of Ezra with other details and points and other angles from the book of Nehemiah and from the books of the prophets Haggai and Zechariah. The first shall say to Zion, behold, behold them, I will give to Jerusalem one that bringeth good tidings. Guess what? You get to rebuild your temple. Guess what? You get to rebuild your wall. And that all happened in the 530s and 520s BC. All following the first directive of Cyrus the Great, king of Persia. For behold, I beheld. Now this is God talking again through Isaiah, not Isaiah talking for God. Remember, I warned you all the way through the book of Isaiah, you have to figure out who is talking. About half the time, Isaiah is talking to the people and saying what God said. Another half of the time, probably evenly divided, is either God talking to Isaiah or God talking to the people through Isaiah. This is God talking. For I beheld, and there was no man, even among them, and there was no counselor that, when I asked of them, could answer a word. You know, God is saying, I'm going to do all this. And he's saying, I have asked your idols, your stone and your wood and your metal idols. I've asked them questions and they can't answer. You couldn't answer any of them. Couldn't say anything because you can't speak. These dumb, deaf, blind, and brainless. If I only had a brain. You know, they're worse than the Tin Man and the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow didn't have a brain. The Tin Man didn't have a heart. What did the lion lack? Courage. So that's the way these gods are. They can't see. They can't think. They can't even run away on their own. They have to be picked up and carried. Worthless, useless, pagan idols. Inspired and empowered and holding people sway by the wiles of the devil. Paul says we're not ignorant of his devices. No, God is explaining them to us right here. God says, for I beheld in verse 28, and there was no man, even among them, and there was no counselor that when I asked of them, could they answer a word. So none of these idols could answer. But none of the men and women who worship those idols there in Israel. Of course, they were totally given over to idol worship in Judah by the time of Jeremiah and by the time of the fall to King Nebuchadnezzar and the armies of the Chaldeans in 586 BC, well, which was really a long war and deportation that lasted from about 610 to about 586 BC. Made a long and three separate deportations before it was over, and the total captivity. But he couldn't find any of the men that could answer him. The idols wouldn't answer because they couldn't, but God, he required answers of men too, and they didn't have the answer. I don't believe Jeremiah had an answer there at the end except the ones that God gave him. And he didn't like his job. He said, I'm going to shut up. And God says, no, you ain't. Jeremiah said, I ain't going to do it. And God said, yes, you are. And he had to prophesy, predict, and then witness the entire thing. All of the judgment that God put upon Judah. But God says, I was looking for someone to talk to, but there wasn't anybody I could talk to. The idols wouldn't talk to me, and the entities behind the idols, the devil and his angels, they wouldn't have anything to say. But the men and the women who worshiped those idols and carried them from place to place and set them up so that they could pray to them. I mean, really, seriously, how could you pray to a God that you got to put on your horse and pack to the next place? But we do that in spirit. We're the human beings we're just without Christ, we are idol worshipers because we all want to worship something. And you'll say you're not religious, but maybe you worship your BMW. Maybe you worship your computer. Maybe you worship your virtual reality system. Maybe you worship politics. You got idols. You got to turn them loose. You got to turn them loose, or Christ cannot do the work in you that he wants to do. Behold, they are all vanity, God says finally. All the gods and all the people who worship them. Behold, they are all vanity. Their works are nothing because they can't do any works. And a people who worships idols can't do any work for the Lord either. That ought to scare you to death living in this land of idolatry, where nearly the whole country worships one idol or another. And most of those idols are men or women. Behold, they are vanity. Their works are nothing. They're molten images. The little god that, think about Demetrius, the silversmith, who raised up the people against Paul in Ephesus. The greatest Diana of them Ephesians. Behold, they are vanity. Their works are nothing. Their molten images are wind and confusion. In Romans, Paul preaches. No, not in Romans. What am I thinking of? In Acts chapter 17. Now while Paul, verse 16, chapter 17, Acts verse 16. Now while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews, and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans and of the Stoics encountered him. Some said, What shall this babbler say? Others some, He seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Jesus and the resurrection. For thou bringest, and they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, May we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is? For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know, therefore, what these things mean. For all the Athenians and the strangers that were there spent their time in nothing else but either to tell or to hear some new thing. And Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things ye are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, To the unknown God. I guess they put that there in case they missed one, that they'd include that one too. Good morning, Adam. God be with you. Whom therefore ye ignorantly worship, him I declare unto you. God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands, neither is worship with men's hands, as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth to all life and breath and all things, and hath made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on the face of the earth. All you white supremacists out there who think you're better than a black man, the Bible says you're not. I don't know why we're still talking about this, but it seems to pop up on TV all the time. There's only one blood on the earth, and it's red. And there's only one salvation among all of those red-blooded men and women, and that is the red blood, the precious blood, the powerful blood of the Son of God that Jesus shed on the cross of Calvary. He made of them one blood all nations of the men for to dwell on the face of the earth, and hath determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek the Lord, if haply they might feel after him and find him, though he be not far from every one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also of your own poets have said, for we all also his offspring. For as much then as we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold or silver or stone, graven by man's art and device. Now the times of this ignorance God winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent, because he hath appointed a day in the which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained, whereof he hath given assurance unto all men that he hath raised him from the dead. And he preaches many of the things in Ephesus as he preached at Athens. Who said they burnt their books, they burnt their gods at the preaching of Paul, destroyed their idols. Not Paul, but the people when they heard Paul preach Jesus. And it comes down here in verse 21 of 19 Acts. And after these things were ended, Paul purposed in the Spirit, when he had passed through Macedonia. What am I, 13? Am I trying to eat SpaghettiOs? He went to Macedonia and had a Cheerio and a SpaghettiO and beefaroni. You know, God deliver me from my own madness. Put me in my right mind. Not Macedonia. When Paul had passed through Macedonia and Achaia to go to Jerusalem, saying, after I've been there, I must see Rome. So he sent unto Macedonia 2 of them that ministered unto him, Timotheus and Erastus, but he himself stayed in Asia for a season. And the same time there arose no small stir about that way. What way? The way of the cross, the way of following Jesus. For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen whom he called together with the workmen of like occupation, and said, Sirs, you know by this craft what craft? Making idols. You know by this craft we have our wealth. Moreover, ye see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but almost throughout all Asia, this Paul hath persuaded and turned away much people, saying that they be no gods, which are made with hands. So that not only this our craft is in danger to be set at naught, but also the temple of the great goddess of Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worshipeth. And when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath, and cried out, Great is Diana of the Ephesians. And the whole city was filled with confusion. You see, they wanted to kill Paul because he took away their wealth. You see, if we destroy the idols, you take the wealth away of every preacher on TV that says, send me money. You destroy the idols. You take away all the palaces and the mausoleums and the cathedrals and the temples of the people, the rich people who run the world, and say, give us your money. You take the money out of it, and then it's nothing. It goes back to being not idolatry. Because if you know you're going to be poor and hunted and abused and hated for Jesus Christ, there's no profit in that. And so unless you actually are surrendered to Jesus Christ, your false worship, your idolatry, your false religion, your false prophets, it all goes in to the toilet to be flushed away, because that's where it belongs. Why? Behold, they are all vanity. Verse 29, Isaiah 41. Behold, they what? All of your gods, all of your idolatry, all of your idols, all of your worship, all of the men that you worship. Come on. All the politicians, presidents, senators that you worship, all the rich men that you worship, all the movie stars and the singing stars and the music stars that you worship. Behold, they are all, and sports stars, behold, they are all vanity. Their works are nothing. Not my words, but the words of the living God. Their works are nothing. Their molten images are wind and confusion. Who is the author of confusion? Satan, the devil. But God hath not given us fear. God has not given us a mind of fear. God has not given us, I know that as well as I know my own name. Why can't I quote it? God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of a sound mind. But the worshipers of idols, they're nothing but wind and confusion. And all you have to do is look around you because you see them every day. God bless you. I will condemn other things tomorrow. Bye.